Just start with some introductions. Let me begin. My name is Barney Rosenberg. I'm your senior judge this afternoon. I am a recovering lawyer and retired a couple of years ago from a British company in the aerospace business, where I was the global vice president for ethics and business conduct. And all we did was manufacture something on everything that flies, including the International Space Station.
Is that all?
And as I said, I'll be a judge. I have a timer, so I'll keep track of the time. And introduce yourself.
Thank you. What an introduction. I'm Norma Miranda. I am the Director of Worldwide Product Strategy for Herbalife Nutrition. We sell product in 95 countries around the world. And it's, I don't even know, somebody asked me how many years I've been doing this, but a long time, I'll say that. So thank you guys for being here.
Hi everyone, I'm Allie Berger. I'm a credit risk associate for JP Morgan Chase in the commercial real estate group. This is my first year ever being a judge here, so I'm excited to be here for this.
Imagine you got your hands full these days. Wait till watch that bond market explode. Hi, I'm Ollie Ferruzzi. I used to be in banking for 18 years. I did not cause the financial crisis, please don't blame me. For the last 10 years, I've been a CFO for a multinational project management and engineering company. Excited to be here and see what you guys got.
Okay, so I have some guidelines and instructions. And in this part of the competition, you are taking on a fictional business identity. And you're assigning a fictional business identity to us, your panel of judges. So we have your executive summary, which tells us that we are the UPS Board of Directors. Okay, you got that? You'll have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical aspects of the issues that you bring to us, and recommend solutions to each of them that passes muster. During the time of your presentation, the 25 minutes, you will not be interrupted by any of us. At the end of the 25 minutes, we will stay in role in our characters, and we'll have 10 to 15 minutes to ask you questions and get your answers. When that's over, that's when you get to take the real deep breath. You can pause, and we'll give you some feedback. Okay? So tell me whenever you're ready, and I will start the clock.
Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay. Go.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, UPS Board of Directors. We are Mountain Ridge Consulting. My name is Liam Wall.
I'm Ashley Newton.
Marcus Lucescu. Alma Celedano.
And Jacob Russett. And we are extremely excited to be presenting in front of one of America's most recognizable brands, a leading employer, and also one of America's most value-driven companies. And at UPS, there are 3 core values, as you know, that drive the actions and decisions made here. UPS is customer first, UPS is people led, and UPS is innovation driven. And there's one of these values that we really want to hone in on today, and that is the value of people led. At UPS, people led means improving our employee experience. And the major way we get that done is through our relentless safety culture. And we measure our success in this area through our eNPS score, which measures how likely our employees are to recommend working at UPS to their friends and family. To expand upon UPS's safety culture, we have an excerpt here from the UPS Code of Conduct, which reads, "We are committed to protecting the health, wellness, and safety of each UPS employee." But I think it's put best in the UPS Sustainability Report, where it said the most important stop for our employees is home. At UPS, this is a lot more than just words in a document or on the door. This is action. We have over 200 safety programs and trainings. There are employee-led safety committees, which help make recommendations on how to improve our safety procedure. There's over $260 million invested per year into safety, training, and education. And this is over 5 million training hours given to our employees. However, as our global head of health and safety has said, there are challenges when it comes to safety. And we certainly aren't perfect, but we're focused on continuous improvement. And so we'd like to explore one of these potential challenges here today and offer our solution. And that challenge is high heat. As you know, as temperatures rise across the world, extreme heat events are only becoming more and more common. This is a map from the Washington Post which projects the number of days with dangerous heat across the United States, with those darker areas projecting a minimum of 90 days where the heat index is above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the result of these high heat days? Well, trucks that measure over 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Over 150 degrees Fahrenheit in the trucks for our workers who are working 12, 13-hour shifts. Here are some quotes that describe these conditions. These are all from UPS drivers. It's like walking into hell. I pray every year that I don't get heat stroke. We're dropping like flies out here. These are some of the results. Over 100 heat-related hospitalizations for on-the-job UPS workers over a 4-year period. In 2021, Jose Cruz Rodriguez passed away in Waco, Texas due to heat-related symptoms right after his UPS shift in a UPS parking lot. And in 2022, Esteban David Chavez passed away right in our back door here in Pasadena, California, while on duty. Now, we're obviously limited in what we can say about these events due to ongoing legal proceedings. However, we are not limited in taking meaningful action. In our opinion, our current heat-related injury plan needs updating. So this is the current plan. There are 3 main components: a cooler uniform fabric for the drivers. There is a fan application process that drivers can go through. And the biggest spoke of the plan is hydration and education providing resources. In our opinion, this simply does not go far enough. We would maintain this current hydration-focused plan, but we would add 2 additional components. The first and biggest, we are proposing to add AC units to the trucks to try and control these temperatures. And secondly, instead of a application process for fans, which we've heard from drivers, they can get rejected or even get delayed until it's not even summer anymore, we would have automatic approval for any driver that requests a fan. So, there has been some questions on the feasibility of an AC unit in a UPS truck, so we just thought we'd detail the solution a tiny bit further here. There's 2 main portions of a UPS truck. There's the cab area, which the driver is in, and then there's the cargo area in the back. We are proposing the automatic fan approval for the cab area, which has the doors, which are often open, the employee hopping in and out, and the AC units for the back cargo area, which has extremely poor ventilation, where it is the hottest, where it simply heats up all day. That brown coloring really doesn't help in those high heat days, and it's been described as a sauna. The employees have to go back there, find, organize, lift, move packages over 100 times per day. They're transitioning from that, we'll say 90 degree, 100 degrees outside normal condition, in there, that's where it's 150 degrees. That's where we would add these AC units to try and help these drivers. So that's our solution, that's the issue. Now I'm going to pass it off to Marcus, who's going to detail out the ethical implications of this issue and solution.
Thank you, Liam. We love UPS. It's a great company that plays an important role in our present world. That said, there is one major area that it can improve in, and that is workers' rights. As Liam explained, UPS's corporate strategy is customer first, people-led, and innovation-driven. And being people-led has to do with the employee experience. Employees are the key stakeholder in our ethical case, and UPS truck drivers are the foundation and the backbone of the company that makes everything work. UPS drivers are sometimes working for 10 hours a day, delivering on average 120 different deliveries per day. And them working in these high heat sauna-like environments for prolonged periods of time can be very harmful to their health, where they're losing electrolytes and essential minerals like copper. And at 107 degrees, your organs actually stop working properly. And so when UPS truck drivers are exposed to these conditions for prolonged periods of time, for days and weeks on end, you get cases of heat stroke and, as Liam explained, sometimes even death. Our solution of installing air conditioning into the trucks is very reasonable, and UPS would be part of the solution and would be preventing employee harm from happening in the future. UPS's corporate social responsibility statement says, "Our success depends on our people, and at UPS, our people are empowered to share diverse perspectives, realize their full potential, take innovative action, and advance positive change." Part of realizing their full potential is UPS ensuring that their workers are healthy and their well-being is taken care of and that they are in a safe working environment. Part of it, installing these air conditioning units into trucks, UPS would be fulfilling their corporate social responsibility. We believe that workers have a fundamental right to safe working conditions. The preamble to the Constitution says, "We hold these rights to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." From this, life, we can derive other rights. The right to life means that another person cannot harm your bodily autonomy and infringe on your bodily autonomy. And from there, from the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, we can get the right to safety. Everybody has the right to work, free choice in employment, and to just and favorable conditions of work. Workers, in our specific case, have the right to not get heat stroke while they're in their trucks working. We know that UPS is already aligned with their values, and that's why in 1951 they created the UPS Foundation. The UPS Foundation leads UPS's global citizenship efforts and philanthropy with a mission to help build stronger, safer, and more resilient communities around the world. And currently, the UPS Foundation has a variety of different programs to advance their causes, including training drivers to notify and take note of human trafficking, knowing how to report it and end it. They do relief for natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods. When there's a tornado that happens, within 24 hours, UPS will be donating water to those that need it. They're also helping out with Ukrainian refugees. And so with the UPS Foundation, they're currently advancing 11 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals on the side here. We believe that UPS could more broadly take in the 8th Sustainable Development Goal, which is in full to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all, protecting labor rights, and promoting safe and secure working environments for all workers, including migrant workers, in particular women migrants and those in precarious employment. UPS is already aligned with the United Nations, with the Human Rights Statement. The Declaration of Human Rights is in UPS's Human Rights Statement. And UPS is already looking to the Sustainable Development Goals for guidance on safety, rights of workers, and sustainability. And if UPS more broadly could look at the 8th Sustainable Development Goal, it would, bringing in air conditioning units would align with their existing values.
Thank you. I'm now going to talk about a couple of the past, present, and legal ramifications that stem from this ethical dilemma that Marcus has just brought up. So first, we have OSHA, which is an agency that oversees UPS. And in the past year, since 2011, there have been multiple hazard letters that have been presented to UPS, along with multiple fines due to heat-related conditions for UPS workers. Unfortunately, many of these letters are often overlooked because they're not required to implement the advice presented by OSHA from these letters. Additionally, the fines are often negligible for such a large company like UPS, so they are also overlooked. Next, we have lawsuits that have been presented from different heat-related circumstances, such as Esteban Chavez Jr. that was mentioned earlier, that is a case that was brought to court but ultimately dismissed. Secondly, Jose Rodriguez is a second case that is still ongoing investigation. Moving on from lawsuits that can continue to be a risk for UPS to face in the future if they do not follow through with this response, we have other responses from outside the company. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters Labor Union has a current petition out with over 1.3 million signatures, so the scope of this circumstance is wide and large. In July 2022, there were demonstrations that occurred in New York from the death of Esteban Chavez Jr. This is still ongoing, and I want to get into a little bit more detail about how the Teamsters have responded to such scenarios. Here we have a statement by Teamsters Local 804 President of Long Island City, New York, that states, "Members on the road have been having adverse reactions to the heat. Management has made no effort to address hazards and in some cases made the situation even more dangerous. Prioritizing of money over health is a microcosm of the mistreatment our members suffer daily at UPS. Being money-led is certainly not in line with our value of being people-led and is something we need to address immediately." In addition to this statement, there was a second statement made by the Teamsters 2 days later in July of 2022 from the Safety and Health Department of the Teamsters that demonstrated multiple OSHA citations over the last few years. It is clear that the OSHA citations have not been addressed to the extent that they should have been. This all comes down to one simple concern that is highlighted in Section 5A1 of the General Duty Clause of the Occupational Safety and Health Act. This states that the employer is required to furnish to its employees employment and a place of employment which are free from recognized hazards that are causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm to their employees. Going off of this, I'd like to get into some of the more detailed codes and responsibilities that UPS is required to uphold. One we have from the Occupational Safety and Health section, number 6311 states that it should not, employees that refuse to work in situations with hazardous conditions or conditions that have current violations in place shall not be discriminated against. A second section, 6315.5, states that previous safety and health violations are admissible in court and can be used in further lawsuits and investigations. And lastly, Section 3395 of the California Department of Industrial Relations demonstrates that heat provision procedures and observation is required by employers, and especially in circumstances with temperatures above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which we have seen there are temperatures much higher than this in the cabins of these cars and in high heat zones. Lastly, I want to go through a company comparison of a company we all know very well, the United States Postal Service. They have faced a similar dilemma in recent years, with OSHA citing that they have caused over 900 heat-related illnesses between the years of 2012 and 2019, along with 5 deaths occurring from heat-related circumstances. Because of this, and there was a death of a woman named Peggy Frank, who because she died and they inquired a $150,000 fine, the United States government stepped in and reenacted this act, the Peggy Frank Memorial Act, that states that any delivery vehicle owned or leased by the U.S. Postal Service be modified to include a climate control unit. The USPS may not purchase or lease any delivery vehicle unless that vehicle has a climate control unit. USPS has faced a similar dilemma that UPS has, and UPS should take similar steps to face their own issue. And now I'm going to pass it on to Jacob and Almas to cover some of our financial aspects of our solution.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Now we'll go over the financial background of the UPS company. According to the public information, we found out that UPS company, their revenue for 2022 was $100 billion of US dollars, while their net income for 2022 was $11.55 billion of United States dollars. At the same time, the vehicle capex was 1.67 billion of US dollars. Next, we'll go into our solution financial breakdown cost. Since, as Liam mentioned, we mainly will focusing on southern heat areas for our solution in order to minimize the financial risk in investment of in our solution. According to the public information, the UPS fleet operates approximately 100,000 heavy-duty vehicles around the world, where the 77% of their revenue comes from the U.S. domestic packages. At the same time, we also found that 45% of Americans lives in a heat area. Therefore, we can assume that approximately 35,000 trucks run in the hot heat areas. And now, by using the heat map, as you saw before, we can assume that 35,000 trucks run in the heat area. For the next one, we'll go over our impact and the price for our solution. As we mentioned, we will focusing on the first 1,000 states trucks, which is approximately 35,000. And our cost of installation, including the AC system and the installation fee, it's average price is 3,500, which the total for investment will cost us 123 million of US dollars. Next, with this amount of the trucks, 35,000 trucks, heavy-duty vehicles, installation cost of the AC won't have a huge impact in terms of the financial risk for the UPS company. The total cost will be 133 million of United States dollars. While it seems very large cost, it's important to put in financial results in 2022. In comparison, financial result of the UPS company in 2022, it will only affect 0.09% of their revenue, 0.78% of their net income, and lastly, for the vehicle, it will only affect 11.5%, which demonstrating to us as a result that it won't have a huge impact in terms of the finance.
Great, thank you, Almas. While it's important to look at the cost, it's also important to look at the possible benefits of installing AC units in UPS trucks. Research shows that limiting heat exposure can lead to increased worker productivity and decreased worker absenteeism, which both can lead to increased profits for the company. Now, to add a little bit more color to this, UPS CEO Carol Tone said that a 10-minute improvement in delivery time leads to $257 million in cost savings. So by looking at the portion of trucks that are going to be affected by the AC installation, we can calculate that it'll only take a 3% increase in productivity for those drivers to break even with this cost, and a 5% increase in productivity will lead to a nearly $100 million improvement to your bottom line. Both of these estimates are well within the evidence from the research. So overall, UPS is an industry-leading company and a staple in the United States and around the world. By implementing AC units in trucks, it's an opportunity for the company to more closely align with ethical values and promote the Sustainable Development Goals, to limit legal risk from lawsuit avoidance, and increase employee trust with a solution that is directly in line with calls from Teamsters, with a low financial impact and a probable financial benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One second to reset this. What if we just put in an air conditioning unit in the cab where the driver is, and maybe a fan in the back? The driver spends most of his time in the cab driving around. Wouldn't we save money?
So one of the
And give the driver a place to cool.
One of the issues that most leads to heat stroke has to do when the body isn't acclimated to the high heat. So if it's 90 degrees outside and it's been 90 degrees outside for a week, your body's pretty used to the 90 degrees and the effects aren't as extreme. Now, if you go into an environment that's now 150 degrees and do manual labor in that environment, it's the jump in temperature that can do some of the most damage. So to us, it's really important that it goes in that cargo area, which is really horrible ventilation, it would be even more effective at controlling the temperature back there than in the cab, because the doors aren't open all the time, it's more of a closed system. So it would be more effective, in our opinion, also have more benefit to the drivers.
Thank you. I think at the beginning you mentioned a couple of different aspects of a solution, right? And then we focused on the truck. And so can we go back a little bit and see, maybe if we don't do the trucks, which sound a bit expensive, maybe we just do the van, what are we missing if we don't do this?
So yes, let me go back to the slide. So this is the current injury prevention plan. This is already in place. So they have working on the uniform fabrics, it's the fan application process, and then there is the hydration. Basically they provide water, electrolytes, fruit in the morning at the start of your shift. Throughout the 13 hours in your shift, you're kind of on your own. And then there's also education resources that are provided. You know, what are the symptoms? And if you're feeling the symptoms and you know what the symptoms are, sometimes there's limited that you can do. You're feeling the symptoms, you're on the job. You know, you are recommended to go and find shade. There often isn't shade nearby on your route. So, and then here is our solution. So we would keep everything that's currently there in place. The bottom, we would, instead of a process for applying to fans, that would just be automatic approval. This is already implemented, so it's already accounted for in the current financials. There wouldn't be any major financial impact for this because we're just removing some friction in the application process. Really the crux, the main thing that we are recommending is to add these AC units into the delivery trucks. It would come with a cost. I think as Jacob and Almas demonstrated, the cost is not only reasonable as a percentage of revenue, net income, and CapEx currently, we would also potentially see benefits, not just from increased productivity, but potentially lower legal risk could also lead to financial benefits as well.
And with UPS being a global company, do you think we're going to have to do this around the world?
Yeah, so I think with our plan to start with the high heat index, the hot states, those southern states, is not only where it's the most important, but to also get a sense for the company of how this is going to work, what the results are going to be for productivity or worker absenteeism. So there's a chance that will be expanded further to the rest of the 100,000 vehicles. But I think by starting with a small portion, it really gives a chance for the company to get a feel for that, see the results, and then decide to expand further.
So we may have to invest a bit more, is what I'm hearing.
Potentially.
Okay, thank you.
If we were to adopt the installation of the AC units, what do the logistics look like in terms of our trucks being down to install these units, and would there be any impact to our bottom line?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little unclear with the public information, the maintenance schedules of the UPS trucks. We can assume that they do need to go in at least annually for inspection, so trucks will be off the road at some point, and so that can be when the AC is installed. This is something that in our preliminary analysis we didn't get too deep into just because of the information. But if you do choose to go with this solution, it's something that we would love to look into more and do a more detailed analysis of.
Thank you.
It sounds like the extreme heat is the problem back, this 150-degree temperature. Instead of an active cooling system, would it be possible to do something much more passive, like a thermal insulation barrier, something that can be put up against the inside to keep it from 150 to keep it maybe like 100, 110, like what many people deal with just kind of walking outside. So it's not a full AC unit, but it's something that's always there and helps mitigate the extreme temperature.
Over the years, there's been lots of improvements attempted to be made in the cargo area. What we've seen is that it hasn't been effective. One worker passed away in the summer of 2022, and I think they've been continuously working on the design since the beginning of the company, but specifically the heat has been a major concern with the last 5-10 years as the average temperature has risen across the entire world, and we haven't found an effective solution yet because we're still dealing with this, and we're approaching the summer of 2023, and we think it's really important to start taking that next step in a more active solution. We think that the stuff that's happened, especially with the employee passing away, demands a more active solution, and we have been passive in the past, and we think that the time for that has passed.
We do understand that the Teamsters is a notoriously corrupt organization, and the past leadership of the Teamsters, like Jimmy Hoffa, have gone to prison. All they're interested in is collecting more dues so that they can pay themselves higher salaries. Why should we believe anything they have to say?
I think it ultimately comes down to the fact that this petition that did start came from the death of a specific member and a family member. So through my research, I found that his specific family kind of came into a relationship with the Teamsters to say, we need to speak up about this and make sure that this doesn't happen again. The point with the Teamsters is that the scope was so large, it reached so many people, that it really made kind of a loud boom. And the reason I kind of compared it with USPS is there were other petitions outside of the Teamsters with their heat-related deaths that reached 1.7 million people. So it was a very comparable scope of how many people felt they needed to raise their voice on this, but mainly just for that fact of like how impactful it was for people outside of the Teamsters, that they did ultimately raise that question.
Any other questions from the judges?
No.
Take a deep breath. You did it.
Exhale. So,
Well done. Just turn off the timer. Great presentation skills. Tough questions from the judges, and you just handled them with grace and substance. Good job.
Agree. I think you thought of different parts of it and different aspects, not just, showing us facts, but also playing into our emotions of it. I think one thing, when you're explaining all this, it sounds like a very simple solution, right? And a lot of times in business, the simplest things can kind of draw up a lot of questions, because on this side, especially for a board of directors, you're thinking, why haven't we done this yet? Sounds very logical, right? So what are some of those reasons, right? USPS maybe took a long time to implement the change because of the downtime with the trucks, because of lack of staffing, whatever the reason is, right? So it's a very simple solution. It seems very straightforward. I think adding some more context sometimes helps to say, it does sound a bit easy. These were some of the things we found out, but you guys can do it, so do it now. And then it's a bit more persuasive. I thought you guys did a great job with all the information.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Definitely want to echo that as well. Really great job, everyone. Hopefully you all can breathe now you've done it. This was a really enjoyable presentation, so I just want to thank you all for taking the time today. I guess the only thing that I would maybe suggest is certain things when reading from the slides exactly, maybe to gain some time back instead of just to maybe summarize instead of read word for word. I know I struggle with that a lot, even when I'm still giving presentations, my job. So I totally relate to that. But yeah, that would be my only feedback, but really awesome job.
really nice work. It was concise. You walked through the whole problem. You stayed on message. I did not get lost at any point wondering where you were going. Few personal curiosities that I have, since I imagine you guys dug very deeply into this whole thing for your presentation. To echo Norma's, kind of why didn't they do it? Because even from a numbers perspective, even if you didn't care about people, even if you're like, we'll kill 100,000 drivers, who cares, there's more. The numbers, which the CEO admits, the numbers are there. So it self-justifies just based on that, even if you didn't care about people or rights or anything else.
Yeah.
Even from a greedy money perspective, it works. So why haven't they done it?
There's two main reasons that have come up. The first, as you mentioned, is the feasibility issue. I think there's a little bit of a false comparison where it's easy to go, it's not a perfectly closed system, so it won't be 100% effective, so maybe we should try and find other solutions, where it doesn't need to be 100% effective to still have, reduction in these effects. The other thing that we've seen is the labor contract is up this year. There's a lot of demands. This is a bargaining chip, right? Not to say anything to align, but potentially if you fix this out of your own good heart, that's one less chip that you have at the table at the contract renewal that's coming up this summer.
Did you guys find, because Amazon is embedded with Rivian and other companies,
Mhm.
that everyone's aligning with somebody, mostly EV companies for next generation delivery vehicles.
Yep.
Have you guys found in what you looked around, is UPS aligning in their next generation of vehicles to kind of already solve this problem with the next vehicles they're going to buy?
Just to reiterate a little bit on the last point, in terms of EV vehicles, yes. In terms of AC units, they've been notoriously opaque and have continued to be opaque on their plans. Even their testing, they've said, we don't find it feasible without pointing to specific tests or research that they've done. So this has been a very opaque issue for the company, and to harken back to my last answer, I think it's mostly related to the bargaining. The Teamsters, it's a very powerful organization. 70% of UPS drivers are unionized, so the bargaining is a bit of an issue. It depending on how, if you look at it as zero sum, if you look at it potentially as positive sums, we try to demonstrate, it becomes a lot more obvious, as you said.
Nice
So,
to know, guys.
How do you guys feel?
Good? Yeah.
Good job. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.